All right. Hey guys, I'm Katie Roome from Periapsis Press. And I'm here today with my husband David and with Anne.
Hello.
Do you want to introduce yourself just a little bit for people who don't know who you are?
Well, I run a channel. It's called Politically Incorrect Knitters with my friend Deplorable Knitter. And we talk about cancellation in the knitting world primarily. And also we do like to interview people who are making, not just having, people who are canceled, but also people who are making good stuff, which kind of goes into the indie author sphere. Because, we talk crafting world, knitting world, culture stuff, news generally. So, yeah. And we interviewed Michael, but that interview is not out yet. It was supposed to be out yesterday, and it's not. So, very soon, it's coming.
Well, we will be building Lego tonight. Anne will probably be knitting.
Did you tweet at all about this?
Oh.
No.
Guys,
okay.
I've been...
Here we go.
We're starting late. My computer restarted. It's just generally... I've not been on top of things tonight.
That's all right. People found you. That's what's important.
Right. Hi to Michael Kane and to Michael Shea. Thank you guys for coming.
Two Michaels.
I should just...
Excited about your new Lego set, guys. Not gonna lie. Seriously, for you.
We've got it's a bigger one again. It's got 4 books.
Mm-hmm.
Only one is comparable to the Rivendell instruction booklet, but the other 3 are not too shabby either.
Yeah, this is on the sizes of sets that we've built. It's probably still like one of the top 5, probably.
I think so.
One of the top 5 or 6. So
nice.
I personally like to build a lot of smaller sets. I kind of think that stuff that's like, I like vehicles, and there's a lot of good vehicles that are in the 300 to 500 to 600 piece range. But some of these big ones are definitely fun, and there's aspects to them that you just don't get in the smaller sets, because the smaller sets there's a lot of tiny little pieces. In the big sets you get big pieces and building big things and just putting down a lot of bricks that don't have an obvious purpose, which is fun. So yeah, let's get into it. Do we know even which booklet is the...
I don't yet. I was just gonna show real quick the what we're doing here.
Mm-hmm.
This is the Eldorado Fortress.
Mm-hmm.
And it has 2509.
Yeah. So this is another kind of like modern update of a classic Lego set.
They actually have a really nice thing down here showing this one.
Yeah.
So here's this set,
mm-hmm.
and here's the set it's based off of.
Mm-hmm. One really notable thing about this set in particular is that the original one is constructed on this base plate. So if you bring back up the original photo again, and actually maybe there's just a picture of it in one of these books too.
It could be, yeah.
Yeah, here we go. So
okay,
we can show that.
Let me reprioritize this. Whoa, I did not do it on that.
Whew.
There.
Yeah, so in the original, you can see it's kind of constructed on this thing that has you can see there's like this ramp, and those stones on it are just printed on this. So it's this big base plate that's maybe about this big, and it's like a vacuum formed or molded thing that's got kind of like a sloped 3D structure, but it's mostly hollow. The way it's built has got this ramp, and then there's like a pit in it that you can build stuff over, but all of that bottom part is just like one big piece, and kind of in the style of the Pirates of Barracuda Bay, where the ship pieces are kind of more brick built than the original. This whole base now is actually brick constructed, and all those stones, different colored stones, instead of being just painted on, are actually constructed with pieces. And the whole interior of it, like, it folds open, and there's all kinds of details on the interior, whereas the original one is just hollow, and there isn't really anything. It isn't really even like a playable area of the model. I mean, it's kind of a neat thing, but it's not really a nice play feature at all.
Sure.
So it's just kind of a neat example of, I think, how modern Lego is. I mean, old Lego is cool, but modern Lego does some neat updates and actually makes things better.
Michael Kane says, I don't think they've done any of those raised base plates in 20 years at least.
Yeah, I remember a couple of them in sets, maybe when I was about, like, I don't know, around 2000, 2001. I remember the Adventurers, Egypt and Jungle sets having big base plates with stuff molded into it. But
I remember seeing when you did the Rivendell one, and I mean, I hadn't been familiar with how Legos are put together, since I was a kid. And just the level of construction to support the whole town was just fascinating to me.
Yeah, we probably spent 3 evenings working on stuff before we even really built anything.
And especially, I'm gesturing
Other than
behind
the
me.
ground.
I don't know if you can't really see, but like, especially with the way that modern Lego leans into some of the more advanced techniques, like snot, where you have the studs coming sideways. The base has to have interesting internal structure to support that. So you're not just laying bricks on top of each other. You're building a structure that can support things going different directions. Like in Rivendell, there's a lot of stairs, for instance, that are built like all with sideways construction. That is really neat the way it's done. So that all requires interesting support.
Hi to Doug Wise, and he says, Eldorado Fortress with an advanced crane and added boat. And it looks like it looks like the original only had a couple of rowboats, whereas this one has built a little more substantial.
And in the Pirates range, there is always different sizes of ships, so this might be based, and it might actually say it might be based on a particular smaller set. It's like it's like a little Imperial. Okay, a more modern ship that came with set 6277 in 1992. So Lego, let's see, 6277. Okay, yeah. So 6277 was the Imperial Trading Post. Yeah. So Imperial Trading Post was the other big kind of
Imperial build.
Yeah.
Cool.
Which also is built on that ramp base plate, but actually the Imperial Trading Post is pretty cool. It has two base plates, so it's got that ramp, and then it has a blue base plate, and it's got a pier and a tower and stuff. So
cool. Michael Kane says, related to base plates, the only similar thing I had as a kid was from the submarine theme. there was this weird molded crystal plate. It didn't have studs.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
I don't see
All
how there's
right.
any problem with adding more boats.
Yeah. Well, and that's one thing that really appealed to me about the set is that you did get that. You did get that boat, and something that I want to do once we finish this one is I want to rebuild the Pirates of Barracuda Bay into the ship and sail the pirate ship into the fortress.
Oh, that'd be fun.
So that would be good for a stream, is doing that rebuild. And actually that would be a kind of nice opportunity to dust the Pirates of Barracuda Bay, because that thing
needs to be
needs to be dusted.
dusted. All right. Bag number 1. Sorry.
The full ASMR experience.
We need sail pieces, but I don't see those.
Oh, nice. It looks like we're building the boat first. Wow.
Ooh, here's another bag marked 1.
Nice. Now, supposedly at some point here, Lego is going to pivot to using paper bags. I haven't personally seen those yet.
I do not see these sails, so I apologize, guys. I'm going to be rustling for a minute.
I don't know if either of you were listeners of Rush Limbaugh before he died, but he always did this thing where he'd print out all the articles and they'd be on his desk. So whenever he'd search for one, he would make a very particular paper crumpling noise. Like, it wasn't a soundboard thing. He was physically doing it.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I find it here. Crumple, 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 crumple. No dead air in radio. That's the law.
So these are in a little paper envelope. That's kind of fun. It says no scissors. Don't do that.
Absolutely.
Let's start sorting some of these. Oh, and we get a robot here too.
And that bad boy. There's the sail with our. Is that a classic symbol, or is that just?
I'm not sure. The one I remember the Imperials having a symbol that was like cannons that were crossed.
Okay.
So
Maybe that might even be on here.
yeah. So
Oh yeah, like kind of a with the blue checks.
yeah, it's like 2 Imperial Armada, but it could be that this is not Imperial Armada, but some different faction, like maybe a merchant faction or
Sure.
something.
Oh, that could be.
And they update some of these designs too. So like the original pirate skull and crossbones was a more realistic looking skull and crossbones. And one of the things that they did for the Pirates of Barracuda Bay is they made the skull more square, like a Lego head.
We're supposed to have a flag.
Yep.
We could show it maybe when it comes up.
Yeah.
Looks like we're building 3 minifigs out of this bag.
I see 2. Is there another? Oh, no, there's 3 here. I'm not seeing the pirate flag though. It's probably in here. Just hiding.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. Yeah. So you can see the pirate skull is a little bit square, kind of like a Lego person's head. All right.
The
Portions of
strategic
the
authors.
same mouth too.
Sorry. What did you say?
No, with the same proportions of face and mouth too, how they're positioned on the head.
Yeah.
Yeah. The strategic author says noisiest bags in history. And Michael Caine says, I've still not seen a paper bag. Doug Wise says, when I was age 10-ish, the original version of this set was the scene of some of my bloodiest Lego battles. I read somewhere about real pirates giving no quarter. Dungeons for treasure, not prisoners.
They've turned a couple characters into women, I think. I don't know if I kind of doubt that a tri-corner hat with hair. Well, for sure this is like dual molded, so that's cool. That's not an
cool.
original thing, but
Well, maybe it's supposed to be a wig
yeah,
under the tri-cornered hat.
yeah, and the big lips are just because he's a dandy.
This struck me as far funnier.
Well, I'd say look at the blouse, but that might be difficult too.
Well, we have two out of the 3 characters so far are women, so the level of detail that they put into the minifigures though is really cool, and that's something that there's a lot to see and enjoy in.
Do you think that there's more bag ones that are we missing?
Well, what are you looking for?
A head.
A head? It could be. I'm not seeing legs. Why don't we look for... Yeah, he definitely doesn't have a... They don't have a head.
Oh, 10.
I'm just going to put these over here as we look at them.
Sure. And at the very bottom.
There we go. All right. This is a very large amount of pieces for step 1. I think it's just they tried to get the whole ship in one go. We talk a lot about the difference between oh, that's interesting. There's extra. We talk a lot about the difference between modern and vintage Lego, because myself and a lot of our viewers were into Lego as a kid, and one of the notable differences is that vintage Lego did not have numbered bags. So even for very large sets, you just had to dump everything out, sort it. There really was no rhyme or reason. I mean, typically you had bags with big pieces and bags of small pieces and stuff, but so that made it easier. But
Would you like to move a little bit closer
Yeah.
this way? That way
Yep.
your building can be seen.
Yep. Okay.
Should I start with this rowboat?
Yeah. Why don't you do that first page?
Okay. Thank you. I'm going to be building black on dark brown, you guys. So I apologize if this is hard to see.
What project are you working on, Anne?
Yeah, first off, I'm hoping I don't run out of yarn, but I am working on something a little comic related.
Oh, nice.
Fun.
Yeah. So that'll be good. Got that. It matches the new book, of course, which is exciting.
Nice.
But yeah, I'm excited about that. My pal Neil, he has a free online knitting magazine called Block Magazine, which kind of corresponds with the people who are canceled in the knitting world. He'll do articles featuring things and little things on history and stuff. And knitting patterns, of course. Though I think he's also expanded. I mean, we have crochet patterns also, but he does cross-stitch patterns now as well.
Nice.
So the next issue is the heroes issue. So I have a shawl for Isom that I really, really need to get working on because there's only like a couple days for this deadline. But this particular pattern, I'm going to totally biff it because it's very similar to a hat pattern that I put in before, except it's just a little bit different technique. And I'm like, and it says Yaira. It's completely different.
Yes.
It's been like 2 years since I did the last one. So it's you've never seen this before. It never happened. But yeah.
Babe. And I think we just set these oars in there. Just loose.
Yep.
All right. It's a highly advanced rowboat.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, we're building the ship now. So
Michael Kane says, do knitters have an overabundance of socks and sweaters and such, or are you guys always having to gift things?
It's a little back and forth. When I kind of started knitting, I realized quickly if I didn't like find a market for the stuff I was making, I just have a stack. But other people are much more charitable than I am, so they. There's all sorts of charity and things, and everybody's always having a baby just all the time. People want things for, and to give as gifts, and Christmas comes around earlier every year. So yeah, there is that.
But you can only do so much pastels before you drive yourself mad.
Right. Or if that's like your particular thing, there's this one lady I know who does little baby blankets for bereavement charities, and she would do like it seemed like every other day. She's like, oh, and I made this, and I made another one. I'm like, how many of these are you just cranking out? And then for a while, she's like, I just lost my motivation, and then back again, whap, 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 just blankets everywhere. That was a fun thing. Yeah, I may have foolishly told my brother and his wife that I was going to do Christmas stockings for them.
Oh,
Rookie mistake.
That seems like a big project.
Yeah, that it's like, oh no, and that'll be great, and they'll be like heirlooms. I'm like, yeah, but what if they have like a lot of kids? I mean, good for them, but like, there's already this lady that I know, and it was this big deal. She was, an acquaintance from church, and her grandmother had made these big Christmas stockings, or it wasn't even her grandmother, it was her husband's grandmother. And, she had since died, so she wasn't making them anymore from beyond the grave. And she's like, oh, now we're having kids and we want to match these Christmas stockings. And they're like, 2.5 foot long Christmas stockings. And there's like Santas and stuff going on with really weird stitches. And grandma like glued little sequins and bells on things. I'm like,
sure.
well, how about we do this pattern? And she's like, oh no, that's great, that's lovely. And then she had like 3 kids, which again, very good for her, very happy. But every birth announcement I'd be like, and she's gonna come back. Yeah, one of her kids had like a really long name too. I'm like, that just makes the whole thing wider. The letters can only be so big. Like you should front load that when you name your children. Have your longest name first, and then I'll know how to make the rest of the Christmas stockings.
No, where's the other one of this?
I suppose that's the problem with saying you're going to do Christmas stockings is it's not a one-time thing. You're locking yourself into
an unknown
potentially a lot more work in the
Right.
future.
Which, again, it's lovely. It's something that they will hopefully have forever. But then you want them all to match. And then, it's great. But I hope to pass on the legacy. Someday someone else who knits or maybe even crochets will be harassed.
Yes.
Like, oh, grandma made us whatever. And then they'll look at my work and go, oh, honey, why?
I thought you were going to say that you would get back at them by teaching one of their kids to knit so that they have to wear super awful, like first time knitter scarves and hats and things.
And they'll look at it like, oh, we already have enough of that crap from Anne. But I guess.
So, fun story about knitting and stuff being donated. So, when our son was born at the hospital, we were ready to take him home, right? And the nurse is like, "Here." She pulls out this drawer that's just full of little baby hats, and it's like, this is some group like knits these hats for the newborn babies, right? So you can take one. So we chose one, and I mean, I think we tried a few of them, right?
We did, yeah.
We tried a few of them, but none of them were big enough because our son was.
He had a big head.
Yeah, our son was almost 10
almost
pounds.
10 pounds.
10 pounds. So it was like this little hat, and it's like we'd pull it under his head, and it would just slip off.
It's a little baby yarmulke. These little ties under his chin to keep it on.
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, so in the end, we ended up with a very odd-looking hat that was the only one that was big enough.
Mm-hmm. But it was weird. Like it.
And when you look at it in pictures, it's like
it looks more like a pot holder than a hat.
Kind of like that the line from Sound of Music where they're like, what's with that dress? And she's like, oh, well, it's something that, this was donated to the poor. What about this one? The poor didn't want this one.
Yeah.
My mom, she made us Christmas stockings They are, you pronounce it Himmel? Cross stitch.
Ooh.
And they're beautiful. And she kept them. She didn't give them.
Yeah.
Every year mine is hung on their mantle.
If you visit.
On the plus side, I don't have to try and make one to match for each
Right.
of my kids.
You know, mismatched stockings. That's where it's at. Like, don't insist on matching ever. It's just a
Mhm.
I found some 3 at a vintage place. They're all mismatched, but Mary didn't get a stocking, or we shared a stocking last year. That's what. So yeah, a little bit cramped. I gotta find some more. That's the problem with going with vintage.
You just have to kind of wait.
There it is.
Here, I'll work on sorting a little bit.
Thanks, babe.
Oh, hey, not to distract to an entirely different subject while you're sorting Legos, but a friend of mine gifted me an odd comic book compendium, and I wonder if it's something you might be familiar with, David.
Yeah.
It's called Top 10, done by Alan Moore to begin with.
Okay. Yeah. I haven't heard of that specifically, but I mean, if it's Alan Moore, that's probably pretty good and worth reading.
It's gifted to me by Neil, the same guy who does Blocked magazine, and real old time comic fan, has been reading X-Men and the rest of it, for years and years. But he really likes, I would say obscure, but also, what do I know? I know basic superheroes, like, but different, different groups, different, like new scenarios, lesser known people. Anyways, he said that it was absolutely excellent and that it was all of it in one volume. It's like a phone book. It is.
Yeah. Interesting. So it's it looks like it's from Wildstorm. Interesting. I'm not really familiar with any of the artists or anything, but Wildstorm was Jim Lee's studio. He was one of the Image Comics founders, and then he left to go to DC and took Wildstorm with him. So I wonder if it's kind of in the vein of some of the other Wildstorm stuff.
Cool.
And then America's Best is an imprint of Wildstorm. Oh, there's some. Oh, interesting. Okay. Oh, interesting. So, like, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen was published by America's Best.
Wow. That's actually one that I've read, which, the level of comic books I've read is a very, very shallow pond.
Yeah.
But like, I read that one when I was a teenager after the movie came out, because that's how I roll, unfortunately.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Seems like a nice kind of a nice group of artists and stuff that were involved in America's Best. So I would be curious to know if there's any interesting like crossovers in top 10 with Wildstorm characters, other Wildstorm characters, or different things.
I don't know.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of people who really like, especially in our circles, who like really hate Alan Moore.
He
And
doesn't have very good takes.
and I can't say that, I haven't read a lot of his stuff, but I think it's kind of a case of, um, like Watchmen. Okay, I think Watchmen is a great book. Now, does every superhero book shouldn't be Watchmen?
Mhm.
And for people who don't like Watchmen, they're angered by the kind of the thing that it kicked off, which is, turning everything into Watchmen. So it's understandable, but I don't think that's a reason to hate Watchmen or hate Alan Moore. So certainly, this is really interesting.
Yeah.
Piece. These must be fairly new. But this brick built boat, like it's really cool.
Michael Caine agrees with me that Alan Moore has awful takes.
Yeah, but I mean, like, have you read Watchmen? Watchmen is just an unarguably really good comic.
I remember you talking about it when it was that little controversy thing where people were upset about Rorschach being the good guy. It's been probably over a decade since I saw Watchmen, and it was on TV, and I didn't finish it. I'm sorry if I'm a little blue sky in my comics, even though, fan of Daredevil and Punisher or whatever. But I'm like,
yeah,
this is a little rough.
Well, and the movie is not the best adaptation. I don't think it's really as bad as some people think it is. I know Katie really hated it. She was really mad at the ending of it.
I must have blocked it from my memory. I don't remember.
Oh,
I remember
I'm like, maybe
Alley. I don't remember anything else.
Well, and it's Zack Snyder made it, and he's got his own set of problems. But yeah, I mean, the thing is that Watchmen is a book that's about very big ideas, and the thing is that it's a book that's full of really interesting characters, and you're gonna have a bad day if you expect to agree with all of the characters. And I think the fact that Rorschach ended up being a character that people liked, even though Alan Moore didn't, is not really, or he didn't intend to be likable. I don't really think that that's some kind of indictment against Alan Moore. I think, to me, that says that you're capable of writing a character who has a worldview that's very different from your own, and writing that character honestly, and having that character sort of behave consistently, even though it's they're doing things that you really disagree with. I think that makes you a good author, not a bad author.
Sure.
The indictment isn't. It's not on him being a bad author. It's just he has bad political opinions or whatever. But Watchmen is a really wonderful book. And something that's cool about Watchmen, if you haven't seen a copy of it, for one thing, it's not super long. It's 12 issues, but it's really a great kind of like project and world building, if you care about that kind of thing, which I really do. Each issue has like a little bit of a prose part to it, which really fleshes out the backstory, and the
Man,
comic.
that color scheme is killer. Sorry.
Oh yeah, the art is amazing, and not just maybe like from page to page isn't the flashiest, but it's like everything is very, very intentional. There's one issue. I forget which one it is, called Fearful Symmetry, where the whole issue is symmetric. Like down the middle it splits, and like all the panels are like symmetric. So there's lots of like crazy structure to how things are done. But then each issue you have that kind of like prose part that really helps flesh out, and some of them are quite long, that really help flesh out the story. It's not a book where you like the characters. It's a very grim story, but it's a really, I feel like there's nothing quite like it in terms of a comic that takes you to a place. Dark Knight Returns was pretty good too. I read that last summer for the first time. That's another one that people love to hate, but I thought it was excellent.
Yeah, it's interesting with the prose intro, because that's something I've noticed in kind of the older comic books. And I guess you could say that they do this in old movies too, where you start with the Greek chorus or you start with the narrator kind of a thing, where in the city that doesn't sleep, but not that. You kind of start out by describing it, like it's almost let's see, I saw one. Okay, so I'm slowly gathering Daredevil comics, right?
Nice.
And fortunately, I worked backwards. Everyone says Frank Miller Daredevil is the best. I believe you. I've seen bits of it. I don't have volume 1 yet. So they're in a stack as I'm buying them. And once I get volume 1, I will read this stack. But
I'm just trying it.
Oh, sorry.
David's laughing at me.
Like there's no studs there for that piece to connect to.
All right. Have we been doing?
I've been doing a whole.
You've been doing a whole spread?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of different styles of how comics do exposition. I think Watchmen is kind of unique in those prose pieces, and it's like the prose is from an in-universe book.
Okay.
Which is just really cool. It's very immersive. And then there's there's another one that's pretty cool. That's it's like Vite Industries toys. So it's Vite is making toys of the Watchmen characters and other different projects, and there's like letters that they're writing, and it's just really cool.
A little bit like the ads in RoboCop.
Yeah.
All right, my love. Michael Caine says, I think it was more went out of his way to insult fans that like the character, and insulting fans tends to tick people off these days.
Yeah. No, and I mean it's understandable. I mean, I'm not saying that he's a good person, but I think people tend to say something like, "Oh, he's a bad writer," and I think you can be I think you can be a nasty, unlikable person who says things that tick fans off and still be a good writer. I mean, you can definitely be a person who does terrible things to tick fans off and be a bad writer, like what we're seeing with Disney Wars.
Yeah.
But that's not necessarily true.
I think Probably with Star Wars. I enjoyed Star Wars as a kid, but like I wasn't like I haven't been personally offended about it. But I feel like I had a lot more like intense feelings of disappointment as Doctor Who has just gotten progressively worse.
Yeah.
And then this latest was just like, it's been dead for like several seasons now. Just let it go.
Let it die.
Well, you haven't watched it since the Peter Capaldi, right?
Yeah, the early ones of Peter Capaldi.
That's when I lost
That's
interest.
when yeah.
Yeah, I really liked Capaldi as an actor, but I didn't finish his season. Like it just wasn't there. Like I thought he was a fantastic doctor. And I thought like he played that all really well, but
the stories were kind of just mean spirited.
Yeah.
Like that one where it was like that institution that was like trying to preserve people's bodies because you're actually conscious after you die. It's like, what a mean-spirited concept for a story. Like, talk about just the opposite of fun. You know, it's just gross. Like, I don't want to watch that. It's gross. It's like that's like a really disturbing idea.
yeah, that's like your 6-year-old is freaking out because you decided to cremate grandma now. And maybe you shouldn't have done that.
It's like a horror movie concept, not a fun
Right. Yeah,
sci-fi adventure thing.
Yeah, and there's always been, elements of horror in Doctor Who and common everyday items that are a little freaky, but it's like, guys, no.
Yeah.
But they were like more in line with like classic horror and less in line with like
body
horror and like creepy for its own sake type stuff. I feel like. But Michael Caine has to head out. Thank you so much for joining us. Always good to have you in the chat. Sorry we got started so late here.
But yeah, like things that I don't do because Doctor Who has taught me not to. There's a coworker who always makes another coworker of mine coffee, and I'm like, that's how you get poisoned and sacrificed to the spider monster. I'm sorry, I can't. Do you want a coffee in? No, I don't. I will make my own.
I don't trust you. We're coworkers.
Exactly. You seem very charming, and that means you want to kill me. Not today, Spider Queen.
I need to watch it, but looks like there's a bunch of footage now from that Star Wars Outlaws game that is showing like ship combat and some other stuff. I'm intrigued by that game. I don't have high hopes for anything these days, but seems like a good concept, and Star Wars games have been decent lately.
This brick is holding this whole thing on here. There's no studs under here.
Yes.
It's perfectly smooth.
Just one 2x2 brick.
And it's only overlapping on one side.
Yes.
So you could really... That's funny.
It'll be really dramatic when there's a sword fight. The one guy's pressed against the side.
Doug Wise says the Doctor Who spark kind of left with Jenna Louise Coleman, which I would never have predicted a few years beforehand.
That's true.
I liked her.
She's a good actress.
I thought she was really, really pretty too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they did kind of run into the problem where, you know, every companion was the specialist girl ever.
Mhm.
And it's like, okay, it was great. It was great. Y'all are together, you know, your pals, your buddies, but maybe the entire universe does not revolve around whoever the Doctor's buddy is. You're just along for the ride.
Mm-hmm.
You should just punch that ticket and be chill about it somehow.
Yeah. I liked some of the stuff with what's her name and Rory.
Oh yeah.
But it was like, because
I hated her.
I know you hated her, but like he added a new, like a Rory, like a sort of a new dynamic where it was like
The simp.
I liked Rory. I got upset
Rory.
every time they killed him when they first come out, which was a lot.
A lot. But like it was different, right? There were more people to interact, you know, with the Doctor, and their relationship was doing things that were interesting. But yeah, she was not my ideal female character either. But you know, it was like she wasn't just the Doctor's companion, right? Like she was connected in other ways, which made her interesting to me. What is this? All this black.
Now we're adding more pieces on. Isn't there one episode where Rory got turned into like a Roman soldier, and he had to wait inside of like a mausoleum inside a museum for 2,000 years or something?
Yeah, but he wasn't. He was plastic by that point, right?
Yes. And then he wasn't somehow?
Somehow, yeah, it's magic.
Really unclear why, but okay.
So I remember Blink was super scary, but then like the episode where Amy and Rory got sent back in time by one of the angels was like the end of their arc.
Yeah.
So, and it was like, oh, so they literally lived in another time period and that was it. Like, it's like, that's not that scary.
Yeah. Well,
You're not done.
Yeah.
Wait,
And
I know I did this part, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm doing this part.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not crazy. I'm not.
yeah, but you kind of, I don't know, have the Moffat issue for both Doctor Who and Sherlock, where he's like, God, this thing that we're going to do is going to be great.
And you just broke up really badly.
Oh, sorry.
So
Sorry,
you were just saying the Moffat issue.
Oh yeah, that he did, well, still does, maybe, I don't know if he's done anything lately, but where he builds up this great plot and he says, guys, it's going to be really, really clever. We're going to introduce these cool characters and we're going to like build up to an ending thing, and you're like, wow, I'm really excited to hear what's the deal with River Song. What's with this? What's with that? How is this season gonna end? And then he's like, and I don't know what I'm doing, and there's a montage, and it's fixed don't look at it. Or he's like, you know what? I'm sick of writing this. I'm breaking all of the toys. None of you can play with them anymore. We're done. Like he did with Sherlock. I'm like, dude, that was like the worst ending. I don't know why anybody complains about any other endings when the ending of Sherlock exists. They're like, retroactively, he's insane. Like, what was that? But yeah, lots of that Doctor Who where you're like, wow, we could have drawn this out longer and we could have explained things. And I think there really could have been an explanation here. It's like, no. It's fine. It's good. We're moving to a next thing now. Don't look at that. Okay, it's good. It's good.
I feel like he had really successful one-off episodes like Blink.
Mm-hmm.
And then they were like, we'll put you in charge of the entire show. And that just isn't the way that he works.
Mm-hmm.
But no one could say, sir, this isn't going to work.
Or maybe if he had more time to like sit down and really think it out, or, someone he could collab with or something. I don't know.
He could write beginnings and somebody else could wrap it up somehow.
Well, it's like the whole, wasn't that the beginning of season 3 of Sherlock where they had all of these fan theories, so they just did all of the fan theories and then never explained how they did it? Like, that was lame.
That whole season was pretty painful.
Was that the one where Watson's wife ends up being a evil spy?
Yes, I think so.
That's kind of when I lost interest with that show.
Man. And then they did it in show of like, they like blamed Watson for it. That he was all like, I don't understand. How is this always happening to me? That, the woman who I just think is normal and nice, she becomes a spy. It's like, oh, it's you, Watson. You always seek out danger. That's why you're best friends, Whatever. I'm like, dude,
leave the poor man alone.
It's like, why are you blaming him for other people having secrets? Like, it's not his fault. It seems like a weird plot point from the Tumblr crowd. Like, what a lazy way to slap that together.
And by the end of that show, like, I was really tired of Sherlock. Which maybe isn't fair, but because I really enjoyed him earlier. But by the end, it was like, okay, you're just kind of a jerk.
Yeah.
And it's not really funny anymore.
That I don't know, Anne, did you ever see the H Bomber Guy's review of Sherlock?
No, I didn't think so.
He's kind of a loathsome individual, but I think his review is spot on. It just kind of breaks down how the whole show just kind of is kind of like, it sort of appears smart, but it isn't really. Like, most of the time, Sherlock is shown to be like the smart person. It's like you, the viewer, don't have any of the information that he is rattling off. Like, you can't really participate.
It's not like a traditional detective show.
Yeah. Like in the original Sherlock stories, it's like you get all of the evidence, you see all the things that he sees, and then you see him think.
Mm-hmm.
In the BBC Sherlock, it's kind of like this jumbled mess, and it just gets worse and worse as the show goes on.
I remember I forget who it was, Moffat or the guy who plays Sherlock brother, who is also like a part of the production side of things. But one of them anyways said that it's like, oh, I realized that why Sir Arthur Conan Doyle kind of at the end of Sherlock did less of the deductions and more like, well, this really weird thing happened. because deductions are hard.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, but they're good. That's
Yeah.
That's kind of
That's the point. Yeah, and that's kind of what this guy's review got at, is the show just sort of, I mean, it was always there, but it got unbearably bad, just to the point where, you know, the show was mainly more about, like, instead of doing something interesting and bringing the audience along, it was just like, oh, you're stupid and Sherlock is smart, and that's, there's a limited amount of
But you see, I've drawn myself as the Chad and you
Yeah.
as the Bojack. So my argument is obviously.
Doug Wise says, brilliant ex machina.
Yeah. Like that, I think that scene where, I think it's where he's with what's the female character that is like Sherlock's muse.
Irene, who was
Yeah, and
so
there's like this
adorable.
scene like where they're analyzing this crime scene, and it's like a boomerang or something, and it's just, the whole thing is just the most ridiculous, over the top, stupid, like, it's just a whole bunch of nonsense. It literally doesn't make any sense. And it's just like one aha gotcha kind of thing after another, and I don't know.
Yeah, like how was anybody supposed to figure that out? You weren't, right? Like,
Mhm. And that's bad writing, because it's like, that's not what detective fiction is. Like, you're supposed to have the clues, not just making up crazy stuff on the fly. And what's easier? I mean, yeah, like, anybody can just sit and write a bunch of stupid stuff. That's not hard. What's hard is making that mystery that the audience can come along on.
I did not appreciate the old Sherlock Holmes shows when I was a kid, and I returned to them last year with what's his name? Who's
Jeremy
the Sherlock
Brett.
Who was the Sherlock we were watching? Good.
Oh, it's just the old BBC Sherlock. Jeremy something.
Yeah, Jeremy. Yeah.
Jeremy
Brett.
Inesford Hill from My Fair Lady.
Jeremy Brett. I thought I remember watching an episode at my grandma's because it was on TV, and just being bored out of my mind. And then I watched them as an adult, and I was like, this is a far superior Sherlock show. He's even still rude, if that's what you like.
Yeah, I remember one Christmas break, which was probably when,
Yeah,
the other BBC Sherlock was on, where we just sat down and we binge watched all the Jeremy Brett in one go. It was pretty epic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were watching a bunch of last year.
I think it was last year. Yeah,
last summer, last fall.
And then we ran out of ones that were only an hour long, and we had to have more time to sit and watch an episode. So
those really have a range in quality too.
They do.
Probably just due to the source material. Some of them are pretty good stories, and some of them are kind of annoying. It's like you spend 2 hours getting there, and it's like, what? That's the ending?
And still, no one's done a 1-for-1 adaptation of A Study in Scarlet.
A Study in Scarlet. I'm pretty sure there's a Jeremy Brett's Study in Scarlet.
I don't believe so, because there was quite a lot about Mormonism in it. And I think they wanted to skirt that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's been a long time since I read them.
Oh, they're awesome.
Oh, yeah, it is. There wasn't.
I think Stephen Fry does an audiobook, if that's what you're into, but I haven't. I just read them. I didn't listen to them.
I've got the copy of the Sherlock Holmes stories that we have is neat because it's like a facsimile of the way it was printed in the magazine, because they were stories that were published in a magazine, right? So you get a little bit of a taste for what it would have been like to read, and they have illustrations too.
Hi to Ultima Kahuna. I'm not gonna try. I'm going to imagine it in your voice, though. And he says, and your camera wasn't clear, and I thought you were just majorly fighting for a second.
Yeah, just me, just fighting with myself.
And then Stephen Fry is the man. He has a lot of personal touches and more advanced information. Can you imagine being Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, though, and killing off your major character, and then like being forced by fans to make him return? He's so done.
What is this? You've left a gap.
I'm sorry.
So I would like to report that I have won at Yarn Chicken. I have finished this section of black yarn with like 2 inches left. See that?
Yeah.
See
Very nice.
I'm pretty proud of that one. Just not that I did anything in particular to increase yarn length. And I definitely did measure.
Didn't give up, right? And that's how you win at chicken.
Right. But yeah, here I will. Ba-ba-da-dum,
Nice.
ba-da-da-dum.
Very nice.
This is a technique that you see sometimes in this kind of stuff. Make these shapes with hinges.
Cool. Well, this was a significantly larger bag.
Yeah.
Singular, even though it was 3.
What does chicken have to do with knitting? Because I'm hoping to not run out of yarn before I get to the end. When you do, it's sad. And I've done it before. There was this one shawl, and it was beautiful shawl, hand-dyed yarn made specifically for the project. We had this knitting challenge. It was called the Puritanical Knitting Fun Run.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and the challenge is that you had to knit something with at least 75% of your project had to be black yarn, which is difficult to knit with. So that was a lot of fun. And I had to it was this complicated, extra time consuming bind off for the end of the shawl. And I redid that thing like 3 times, and it was like 500 stitches, and it was extra painful, and I kept running out of yarn. What I eventually did was I grabbed in another yarn that had the sort of same brown undertone, and I grabbed a Sharpie, and I Sharpied up that yarn to match it. And I'm just like, it was like a foot of the edge, and I'm just like, no one will notice. It'll be fine.
Yikes. Ultimate Kahuna says, forgive my ignorance, can you just tie more yarn on?
Like, I could, but I don't have any more.
Yeah.
Particular kind of yarn. I could grab another black yarn, but would it match specifically this black yarn? That's just matching your blacks. It's just pain thinking about it. Even the Sharpie is not accurate all the time. I try to avoid the Sharpie option.
Almost as bad as matching reds. What is going on here?
This is really fun. So this goes on like this, and then this goes on there.
That's neat.
Wow. Oh, I'm sorry. Ouch. This is still your page.
Yeah, why?
I didn't do anything. I just picked up pieces. I swear. I just got excited.
Well,
I'm fading.
yeah. Well, we're almost done.
Ultimate Kahuna says, that happens in my job often enough. Get the board stretcher. You cut this one too short.
The board stretcher. So this is fun. So this is going to pop in. And we weren't supposed to push that in like this. We were supposed to leave this out. Right?
Oh,
so now this goes in like that, and we
push
and we Let's try that again.
It should line up. Is there okay?
Nice.
All right. Oh, I get a very complicated and interesting page here. I just get to put pieces inside the holes in the mast. 1, 2.
Those aren't like the little fine lines. They're not like ropes for the sails, are they?
These ones?
Yeah.
Kind of.
This can be a string that kind of goes over the top,
Just-
I think.
So it will sort of look like rigging vaguely. I guess there was a little bit more to this than it looked like initially. Back to you, my love. Ultimate Kahuna says, we used to send people to the store for fake tools, 9-pound bag of toenails, replacement air bubble for the level, hammer oil.
Replacement air bubble. That's funny. These are little jousting spears.
Being used for the cross streams. Whoa. Cool.
Very, very close to done here. Oh, this needs to go in here.
I don't know whose that was.
Oh, that was a long ways back. Wonder what else we missed.
It doesn't want to play nice.
Oh, this is supposed to fold down. I see. Okay.
There. It goes right in the middle. Can't make it go anywhere else. It's fine.
Okay.
Ultimate Kahuna says, we got a lot meaner than that, but I want to keep it PG, LOL. Nice boat.
Nice boat. Oh, do you want to put it on?
Yeah, it's my page, isn't it? Woohoo! Let's see if I can mess this up. Very nice. Oh, that's fun. All right, back to you.
Okay. What are we building here?
It's the jib. That's the right word, right?
I don't know.
When I was in middle school, I was really into pirates. All of my reading was shipping related. I haven't read anything like that for a long time now.
So like, I don't like the cut of your jib, that kind of thing.
No. No.
That's an expression, right?
Maybe.
A friend of
Triangular staysail set forward on the forwardmost mast.
Well, it's not on the forwardmost mast, is it?
So what is it?
Is it?
And you're right. Cut of his jib is a phrase, yes.
a friend of mine, she was really into the Nancy Drew games growing up.
Oh, me too.
Yeah. And whatever the boat related one was, and all the quizzes on the sails and what they're called and everything, for whatever reason, she is locked in. She knows all of her boat sails, and she's like, really, I don't know why. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I'm this person. I'm like, no, this is perfect. So we'll have all the terminology when we have to resort to piracy. It'll work out for us.
I never played that one. We ordered them from the library and played them like hardcore for like a week.
Mm-hmm.
And we would trade off our computer time, my sisters and I, so that we had enough time to do it all. Okay.
They're fun. There's a new one coming out.
Oh,
Is there really?
Wrong.
I don't know if I could do it anymore. They got rid of the forum.
Where you get the answers?
Yes. We would spend...
They still have internet playthroughs.
I suppose. We would spend a significant amount of time trying to figure things out. And then we would finally look it up and it would be like the most obvious answer. Cut of his jib originated in the sailing navies, where the nationality of warships sighted at sea could be accurately determined by the shape of their jib, long before the flag could be seen.
Duh. I mean, what else would it mean?
For example, it says, French jibs were cut much shorter on the luff than English ones, like giving a distinctly more accurate angle in the clue. Okay, now that is an excellent example. I understand now.
Yes, more accurate clue.
Oh, we're frozen, babe. Is that because... Okay.
Yeah.
Those Nancy Drew games were fun though, because like they came with, if you actually bought it, right, like they had a notebook that you could actually take notes in. And so often there would be like a maze in the game, and we started doing LR, and then one day we were watching Psych, and we saw the episode for the first time where they get a clue that's a whole bunch of L's and R's, and like all of us were like, I know what that is.
Could be so important later. But yeah, the handful of Nancy Drew games I played, I needed a notebook every single time. Like, just we're writing this down. It's like, oh, you can type it into... No, I need it written down on a piece of paper.
Yep. I think probably one of the first ones we ever played we played at my grandma's house, and my cousins, older boys, they were really into shoot 'em up games, and they would play that Star Wars one.
It was like
Battlefront, maybe?
Yeah.
the original Battlefront, not the new one.
Yep. And they thought that we were playing like a wussy game and laughed at us because there was no dying.
Oh, no.
We promptly got squashed by an elevator.
And killed by random farm tools, by explosions, by not getting the rope puzzle fast enough.
Yeah. Reaching into a hole. I don't think I should do that. Just try it, Nancy. Got bitten by a spider.
Oh, I guess she was right.
Okay. When she says, I don't think I should do that, it means don't.
See, I just figure it's not a wuss game because they're like, so I want you to figure out this 5-level Sudoku puzzle. I'm like, oh no. This is a nightmare.
You get another sale, babe.
Yeah. Here's the jib.
There it is. Ultimate Kahuna says there's like 500 million Star Wars games.
And yet.
They were pretty hardcore into Battlefront, although they did play some other sort of war games where you manipulate your armies around too. Grandma's computer was where everybody played games. And we would watch each other as entertainment, whoever is not at the mouse and keyboard would sit in a chair sort of back behind the player.
Yep.
And it was so like regular of a thing that we did that my parents once ground me by saying, you cannot watch computer games.
Not only can you not play them, you can't
watch them.
You can't even be a part of the experience. Yeah, I've watched many a computer game. The knitting thing comes in helpful that way. Remember even like in playing like Mario Party with my brother, that if we would, once you set up the game, we would restart it, so I would either be the first or the last player, so I could knit in the in-between.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So like, I don't care which one, just I have to put the knitting down for the mini game, then we can keep going.
Ultimate Kahuna says, what's the weirdest thing you guys have done on stream? I read an old whaling account filled with racist terms describing the slaughtering of sea life. I thought for sure I would be canceled.
The slaughtering of sea life.
I don't know. We haven't really done anything.
We EFAP'd Matt Walsh.
That's true.
Always a good time.
All right. Are we nearing the end?
Well, it says we're done, but there's a lot of pieces we didn't use. So
There are a lot of pieces.
yeah, what did we
Not a lot of fine detail pieces. Maybe there.
miss with these two? We
That
missed
seems
these.
like something important.
Yeah, these seem significant.
Say, trying to think weirdest thing I've done on stream. I've said many things I shouldn't have. I'm just gonna say that on the outset. Lots of it's wrong.
And you
there we
froze
go.
up.
Right here.
See, my computer saved me.
Right here, babe.
Oh. You froze up, Anne.
No, sorry.
I don't know if you... It seemed like you might have been saying something, but...
No, it's okay. I was just saying the weirdest things done on stream. That's like I've said a lot of things I shouldn't. Computer's probably trying to save me from saying them again.
Yeah.
Done a lot of rants on things. They're like, no, I'm not gonna go there. No, actually, I'm going there. We're going there today.
Ultima Kahuna says they're silencing her.
It knows, man.
The original set featured 2 rowboats. Well, times have changed even for pirates, so larger ships can now dock at the pier. So they have here. Let's set this up like they have it. So they have this pirate here, this pirate here with the oars, and then they have this one in the ship
Behind the ship's wheel, or
they have her kind of facing to the side.
why? Doesn't seem.
It doesn't seem very politically correct.
It doesn't seem very wise when you've got the sails all set to not be looking where you're going.
Was this an extra little?
Must have been.
Because you use a little one here.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny.
I seem to remember that last time we did rigging, having an extra one of these.
Yeah. Makes sense. Nice. Well, that was a lot of building.
Yeah, but we have something
Mm-hmm.
to show for it, so that's kind of fun. Usually after bag one, we have nothing.
Yeah.
Now you have a whole boat and action figures.
Mm-hmm. Not the most detailed on the inside, but there is plenty of space in here to put stuff,
Mm-hmm.
which is nice.
Yeah, you could fit a couple of minifigures or a chest or something.
Mm-hmm.
Bags, barrels.
Yeah, and a lot of place for figures to stand.
Mm-hmm. Some space up front in the bow.
Cool.
Wonderful. All right.
Well,
I think we're gonna call that a
yeah.
night.
That was a good first bag.
Yeah.
So
Thank you to everyone who tuned in, even though we started late.
Let's just take a look at what's coming up next year.
Yeah.
So this is 6 and 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so 2, 3, 4, and 5. We're building the base parts here. So if you're curious to see the structure of it next time, we'll be getting right into that. And then the next bags are building little units that are kind of fitting in,
Kind of
going on
adjacent.
top. It's all kind of modular.
Yeah.
Yeah. So very modular build. This big one will have to be over a couple of nights, but that'll kind of build that main part of the base, and then it'll be all nice modular, kind of one thing bottom to top builds.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
Ultimate Kahuna says, I have a book nook I need to build. I may join y'all one of these days.
Nice.
Yeah, please do. Okay.
All right. Well, thanks again for coming, everybody. Thanks
Thank you,
for
Ann.
hanging out with us, Ann.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. It's
Yeah,
fun.
anytime. And good luck on your knitting project.
Yes.
Have a good night.
Goes well.
Nice.